Looks like everything is working, which is great because my last interview this week was the first one in this new space that I'm in, and nothing worked. And
Oh
so
yeah, that's always
uh,
fun.
couldn't even get the internet to work. And so I think we're doing better already today. I appreciate that. If the two of you wouldn't mind, the only time that I ask anyone to speak directly to the audience, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves and the role that you have and kind of the name of your company, just so they know who's who when they're talking. Jane, maybe we could start with you.
Sure. I'm Jane Lowe, co-founder of Ping. I'm also a co-CEO with Rob today. I'm really like the non-technical co-founder, so I do like the marketing, customer experience, voice of customer research, biz ops, stuff like that. So yeah.
Cool. And I'm Rob Whitten. I'm also a co-founder of Ping, and we're co-CEOs. And I'm the technical co-founder, so I'm the one that's responsible for making everything work.
Well, you've already mentioned something that would have piqued my interest in technical and non-technical co-founders. Uh, Before we get into background and all of that stuff, could you tell the audience what Ping is, and do I spell it with a capital P or a lowercase p? That's important to me.
Lowercase. We wanted it to be informal and just like really accessible. So that's why we kept it lowercase and added an exclamation point. But yeah, Rob can give you a pretty good rundown of what Ping is.
Yeah. So Ping is an automated drive-through experience, and another way to look at it is like it's basically the future of micro retail, right? So the whole thing started about 3 years ago. I had three daughters in high school, and they made us go through a bunch of drive-throughs, and I hate the drive-through. I think it's terrible. Like I don't like the experience. I think it's super old and antiquated. I think it's very not customer obsessed. And boy, it just drives me bonkers. You just want to drink and you go there. It's 15, 20 minutes. I have exceptionally bad luck in the drive-through. So it's usually a coin flip whether or not I get something remotely close to what I ordered. It's just, I don't know. I just have bad luck in that almost being run over by Priuses. But like that's a separate thing. But anyway, so the idea of Ping is to create the experience that you want to have. You order on the app, you drive to any of our pods anytime, 24/7. You just grab your order and go. There's no scanning, no waiting, no tipping. And so we try to make all the tech really support that overall vision of like, we want you to leave Ping feeling victorious and like you're living in the future. And this is just the way it should be. Like, it shouldn't be hard to go find a glass of water when you're driving down the road, wandering around some, convenience store and, trying to find the water in the back. Like all that should just kind of go away. And you should just be able to, have easy access to something that's nice and freshly made and customized to you.
So I want to just clarify then for anyone listening, when they go to a Ping, they're engaging on
Mhm.
the app, they're driving up, picking up their order from essentially a rotating window from the videos that I've seen, something similar to that.
Yeah.
But they're not engaging with another person. And there actually isn't another person inside the Ping box or container, or what would you call it? A pod, perhaps?
Yeah, we call it a pod. And so the pod is basically a shipping container that we turned into a giant refrigerator, put a lot of tech inside of it. It has two robot work cells. We call them podlets. And each of those looks like a 3D printer for drinks. And so the cup moves around underneath all the dispensers. Everything goes into the cup. Very clean, no waste because everything's going straight into the cup. And then, we label it, lid it, and put it out in the window for you.
But we do
Um,
while the pod itself is autonomous, we do have site hosts. So we actually the more that we operate, the more we realize how important that site host is. Because we're sort of a new concept, people drive up and they're really intrigued, but they don't really know how to interact with the pod. So we need to funnel them into okay, they already ordered and they just want to pick up, and then everybody else we do a little intro, explain our backgrounds, like why we did this, and then they download the app, and then we help them through the process. So, and there are a lot of people who, even though they like the fact that it's speedy and convenient, they still want to like say hi. They like want that human
yeah.
face to say hi. Um, I mean, like Rob has like had some of our repeat customers bring him asparagus from their farm stand. Like they're just really, it's like our, we love our customers. They're the best.
Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's important. And then we'll have technicians that come in and fix the pod, do resupply, maintenance. So yeah, there's still people employed, but it's the pod itself is autonomous.
I hadn't thought about that. I mean, that's a question maybe for later in the episode, but there's probably a lot of unknown challenges because you're doing something that not a lot of businesses have tried to do before. So you run into problems that there isn't necessarily a path for. Would you consider yourselves in your normal life just people who like prefer to lead as opposed to follow? And I think that's kind of a distinction between someone who starts businesses and runs businesses and someone who works for one.
Oh, definitely. Like we like to march on our own path, right? Like, and we joke that we're unemployable now. Now that we've really gotten into
I've made
the
that joke.
startup world, we can't go back to the corporate lives that we had, right? Like now, when we make a decision, it's based off of, okay, this is the customer experience. We want to improve this thing, or we want this part of the operations to be better. Like it's just logic, right? It's just how do we make that customer experience better, which is so much better than like, all right, I got to fight for resources against that other program over there, and I got to make this VP happy. Like it's less about the politics and more about just like straight customer experience, and how do we make that amazing, and how do we enhance our business, which I think we both love.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that I would describe myself. I'm like more of a lead from behind kind of person. I wanted to work for myself because I was tired of like having ideas and how to improve things and having people tell me that they were terrible ideas and then go and implement them. And I honestly think of me and Rob more as like builder operators. We just love building things that people like, and that they gravitate towards and that they form a connection to more than anything. I think that like I used to work in like healthcare and pharma, and I was just so removed from the end customer. I did not like it at all. It was like heavily regulated. It was slow. Like that was the opposite of who I am. So I think like yes, like we lead in terms of our company is different, it's new, and the technology is cool. But like I think that me and Rob are at heart like builder operators.
How did the two of you kind of come together? Where did this idea originate, and what was that origin story of this company and the two of you working together?
We actually met working at Shark Ninja. I don't know if you've heard of them. They make shark vacuums and
There
appliances.
might be a shark ninja in this house.
I wouldn't be surprised. They've done really well. We met there working on the same product team, making kitchen appliances like blenders and food processors. And we just had a really good time on our team. Like it was small and gritty. And it was like overall, like Shark Ninja does a good job moving things along and like being really fast paced. So I think like we just enjoyed working together and with our team. So that's how we knew coming into this that we'd get along, that we've like done product development and marketing together before. So yeah, so that was helpful.
So once you guys do come together, what's that conversation like? Where with the idea? Here's the idea. One of you has to have this idea. I'm assuming it wasn't completely simultaneous, and then goes to the other and says, I think this is a good idea. What do you think? How did that work, and what was that conversation? What do you remember from that period of time? Because I think for anyone listening who might be thinking about getting into a startup or thinking about doing something new or are in it, it's easy to forget those beginning things as you're forced into decisions as you go.
Well, in addition to being business partners, we're also life partners. So I was sitting in that car next to him while he was like whinging on about like how he hated waiting there.
I hate the
Honestly,
drive through. Like I can't stand. Like it drives me insane. Like sitting there for like so long, and then I'm like Joe Pesci and Lethal Weapon after you leave, and you're like so far. It's like, oh, they got you at the drive through. Oh,
I hope that
anyways,
your
yeah. So that was
listeners,
happening.
I hope your listeners know that reference because I did not. Is
But
right.
the Joe Pesci and the no, come on.
I'll add a clip.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Um, I need to bleep things. But so yeah, so I think that we are also just like both efficiency people. We're too busy to waste time in like lines. We hate lines, right? We're gonna like have pre-check because we hate waiting in the TSA line or like, so I think we were both just like, okay, well, he was at Amazon Robotics, I was at Forrester, and from my work with Fortune 500 clients, I just knew that they could never move the needle on anything. They're too big, there's too much infrastructure. Even if they like were well intentioned and had resources and stuff, like I knew that we could make a difference. And so a little bit of that was convincing Rob a little bit because he was like had a great job in Amazon Robotics. He was really well doing really well in grocery. So But I think like it was just good timing for both of us to be like, I think we can do this.
What about the money? I mean, I've started a business. There's usually not enough to go around. And if you both are both life partners and now work partners, leaving careers, I mean, how did you manage that part of it? And what made you think, I mean, obviously, like you have a reason for why this business makes sense for you, but there has to be something that makes you think that in the future it'll be profitable enough that it's worth the risk because
Yep.
it's a big risk to step away from a career. It's a big risk to try something new in an industry that has done things a certain way, as they might say when you enter it. So, what made you feel there has to be more than just? I shouldn't say there has to be, but I believe there's got to be some sort of feeling that this is the right thing because it sounds from the 10 minutes we've spent together. I bet there's a lot of ideas coming out in moments like that where like, oh, I bet I could do this better.
100%. Yeah. I think that me and Rob, you can disagree if you want, but I think we've never deviated from the fact that we believe 100% in what we're building and that people need it. Like when we ran our pilot, you can go and see like all the customer reaction videos we have. Like people responded like in a wow moment. Like everyone had a wow moment. They would pull up with their phones out or taking video or like talking to someone on the phone and sharing the experience because like, and everyone was like, where was this? Like we've been needing this. And so we know the product market fit is there. And so me and Rob have never doubted. Given that, by like saying that, neither of us have taken a salary in 3 years. And we also had to bootstrap our pilot. So we spent a fair amount of money on that. We're working through all of our savings. Like it's
We're digging into retirement funds now. You know, you have to commit, right? Like I think a lot of this is yes, she's absolutely right. Like we firmly believe that this is an amazing idea. We know we can get there. We know this will be profitable. It's just a matter of time, right? And time and engineering to make it all work. But yeah, sometimes it's a bit of a gut check and a grit test is like, how committed are you to this? I think also having to come from where we started, where we were bootstrapping and like the first pilot, we funded that ourselves, and I think that helps you bring things into focus. Like when you have to be that scrappy, like all of your priorities really just come down to like, all right, what do we really have to do in order to improve the customer experience? How do we, get to the next level? How do we automate enough to make it, the experience that we want to have? And remembering that it's not about the automation, like it's not really about the tech, it's about the experience and how do you create that experience? And so if you have to, have tech that is like, oh, that's not quite what I wanted, like you find ways around it and you find ways to deal with those corner cases. And I think, we've learned a lot just, forcing ourselves to operate because we've been operating for months now. And, if we had stayed in a lab and gotten the automation completely perfect, we would have built the wrong thing. Like we know for a fact that we would have built the wrong thing because like we were pretty good on the vision, but, details, the devil's in the details. And so you can spend a lot of engineering time on something that just doesn't actually do anything for the customer. And so, building that conviction, through operating has been a huge piece for us to bring all of our next steps into focus.
And by the
Sure.
way, like we didn't just like have bad experience and say, let's do this. Like we did a fair amount of research before we fully like
Yeah.
threw our resources into it. Like we sat and watched drive-throughs, behaviors, we timed things, we did a lot of like market, like so like 30% line bulk, right? Because people like see the long lines, they leave. That's like a ton of money that's being left out on the table. So we know the market is obviously big enough. So we just did a lot of research as well. But yeah, so I think that just reinforces our belief in the entire concept of it.
I think you both have used the word need, which struck me just because I'm thinking about myself as a customer and coffee in particular as somewhat of a luxury, and I think maybe more of a luxury in the future, depending on how everything rolls out. What is it that you think that you're providing that is different than the coffee shop experience? I mean, what is the thing that you're needing? Are you competing on the coffee, on the convenience, on the speed? What is, how does that priorities list work for you or for the customer that's coming to an automated coffee drive-through?
Yeah, it's 100% speed and convenience. That's the differentiator. As part of that research that I mentioned, like the parent company of Scooter's Coffee said they did the math, and that if you could shave off even 1 second of wait time in the drive-through, that it would equate to about $30,000 in annual sales per store, right? So if we can shave off like 3 minutes, I think that that would help the customer segment that cares about speed convenience. Like, I think there will always be people who want to sit down in a lovely cafe, talk to their favorite barista, really enjoy those handcrafted beverages, like have their meetings there, meet up with friends. Like, we know that Gen Z tends to go to like more coffee shops now than they even do like bars. Um, but yeah, like it's a totally different segment of just people who care about that. But as having said that, we know that people think automated coffee sucks. And so we went out of our way to source really great coffee. People are always telling us how much they love our coffee. And we also invest in high quality ingredients. Our pricing, I think you'd be surprised. Like, we do agree that pricing has gone up over the years, and there is a lot of pricing pressure on the whole coffee shop industry, right? Like, everything is experienced. Like, there was tariffs on them for a while. Like, everything got more expensive, but we can, like Costco manages to margins, right? Like, we also want to keep in mind that our customers want reasonable prices. So we sell Italian sodas for 250, all the way up to a specialty beverage for 650. That's today. Like, we can't really predict what's going to happen in a year or two, but that's what we're trying to do: is high quality ingredients, speed and convenience at reasonable prices, and no tipping.
Costco is unique in the sense that they publicly say this is what our margin is, and if they get a better price, then they reduce the price in the store, which no one does. Most people, if they can charge a higher price, even if their price goes down, they keep it at the higher price because the margin gets better, and that's just not their model. Um, you, uh, I read this when I was reading about the brand. It reminded me there's another, or I don't know if they're related to you in any way. I don't think so. But in Wisconsin, where I'm from, there's an automated drive-through, and you mentioned other automated. People think automated coffee sucks. How is this thing that you're doing the different thing than, say, another automated or robotics-based drive-through? There's a in Sacramento, California, Robot Cafe just has a robot barista like you see at all the conventions. How is this different from that? Because when I think of automated, I think of this poor robot barista uh, trying to make a drink and getting confused, and then it kind of going off the rails. So, how is your thing different or better, or put
100%.
a picture in someone's mind? I guess because when I read AI automated whatever, I certainly had a vision, and I'm a skeptic. I mean, up front, I warned your PR person, let them know like I might not be fully on
Love
board. They're
it.
gonna have to sell me a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, what's the vision of this that makes it different and better than the thing that maybe coffee industry people have seen, trying to invade this space or come into this space and not succeeding quite yet?
I think that so you could segment coffee kiosks into two. One is the walk-ups today with the robotic arms. They move like cups between like expensive specialty machines for coffee and other beverages. So that's like low throughput um, and high capex. So then you end up paying a lot more for this robotic arm that you don't really need. People do it for the novelty. We actually have tried a bunch of them: Cafe X, Bart Bar. Like, we've gone and tried them, and like the coffee's fine, but they're like sometimes they've sold out of all the best things, and then you don't leave. Like, then you have to take your coffee and then you walk over to a station where then you manually put stuff in there and you cap it, you lit it yourself. It's like there's just like manual pieces of it still. And the other part of it is that we believe most of the volume that we want to secure, and where the problem is, so the 30% line bulk is happening in drive-through. So we're pursuing both the problem of drive-through line bulk and volume and sales, rather than walk-ups. And then the last thing about walk-ups is they're often placed in urban settings and expensive places like college towns, like hospitals. So the real estate itself isn't that much cheaper, even though it's a small footprint and it's low. So yeah, when you speak to, so on the drive-through side, there's us, and then you're in Wisconsin, so you're referring to Octane Coffee. Actually, I'm very curious to know if you've been there and tried it.
No, I haven't lived in Wisconsin in a long time, but because I'm in coffee, the second anything happens there, somebody sends it to me. And
Yeah.
Wisconsin is not a small state. I mean, there's millions and millions of people, but every now and again, the assumption is that we all know each other. And
Yeah.
I always like bristle at that. And then every now and again, someone's like, well, do you know Dave? And I'm like, well, no. And then I'm like, oh, actually, yes, I do know Dave. And this was one of those times. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been to Wisconsin a bunch too. It's, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, so Octane is like us. They're a drive-through using robotics to solve for the speed and convenience problem as well. I think they were founded in 2017 by a mechanical engineer, and I mean he's done a great job. He also uses, actually, I'll let Rob speak more to the technical side, but I'll say that other than serving drive-through coffee and beverages, we're not that similar. For instance, our business models are different. He wants to sell his kiosks for 750,000, and we're looking at franchising through a robotics as a service model, where for under $200,000 in pre-opening costs, you can reserve your own pod as part of a franchise. So there is not as much down payment that you have to make, and you get it up and running. And we would take care of all the servicing. We would do all the resupply, anything related to the pod. We would fix it, everything. And then all we would ask our franchisees to do is find the real estate, secure the permitting, do the site improvements, and then they provide amazing customer service. They're the site host potentially, or they could hire someone. They do local marketing to drive volume to the pod. They're really like the local face, like they're embedded in the community. They're like the person that everyone knows, and then they say hi as people go through. So that's kind of like the difference in our business models. But Rob can speak more to the technology piece as well.
Yeah, I think the other big piece is we've focused a lot on this customer pickup experience. And so in our mind, yes, we're starting with coffee and energy drinks, but like this customer pickup experience is going to change the way micro retail works, right? Like the way you get things from your car. So we're starting with beverages, but we'll move on to packaged snacks and convenience items, and eventually, I really want to get into some automated food things. It's a whole separate line of roadmap discussion. But it's really that experience, and so perfecting that so that it's just completely seamless. Once you order on your phone, you don't pull your phone out again. So with Octane, you have to pull out the QR code and scan that guy. And for us, we want to eliminate all of that. You just leave your phone in your pocket. You drive up to the pod. The window auto adjusts. So like with Octane, you have to pick your window height. For us, the window automatically adjusts based off of whatever vehicle you happen to be driving up in. And so if you drive up in a tall truck, the window is going to present your drink, nice and high. And so we have all of these things kind of like a duck floating across the water. We want customers to be that, happy duck floating across the water. We're the craziness happening under the water of all the technology, happening in order to make that, experience super smooth. Fundamentally, we designed this thing to scale. Like Jane was saying, like we want to be able to scale very quickly using the franchise model. And one of my favorite pieces about having under 200K of pre-opening costs is now we're talking about middle class wealth creation, which I think is super important because lately there's just a lot of how do we make the uber wealthy wealthier? How do we
I haven't noticed.
our K economy, right? So yeah, barely noticed. Thanks. Providing opportunities for other people like us that have some money and a lot of motivation to be able to go out and actually own a business. And if you want to do that with the Duncans right now, like you have to have $1 million liquid in the cash in the bank. You have to be rich already in order to buy one of those franchises. Or there's so many franchises out there. You have to wait until somebody's ready to retire, and then you can buy their operating franchise, which will be way more than $1 million, right? So it's difficult, I think, for the middle class to really be able to own something and to go out and start a new business. I think that gets harder and harder every day. So from our perspective, we designed this thing to scale in an affordable way so that now automation can do, like, they can serve us, right? They can make an amazing customer experience. It can allow middle class Americans to own something that will be able to perform very well, and the robots will do all the kind of order fulfillment, all the stressful things of making sure all those orders come in at the right time, and humans get to do what humans are good at: interacting with other humans, being that site host, talking to customers. Like once you verify that they're the right customer in the right line, like you have a second to chat. You can say hi, and see how everybody's doing until the next person pulls in. It's like, all right, well, your order's in window 2. We'll see you. Have a good day. Right. And I think that's just a super exciting way for us to be able to bring this new experience to people.
And by the way, some customers do not roll their windows down. They don't want to talk to us.
Yeah.
That is okay. Drive on by. Like, it's all good. We understand. So, but it's like, but yeah, like having heard all that, like, love feedback, if you.
Sure. I have two thoughts from all of that. And I mean, I'm in a little bit of just poking to see how you guys feel about it and what the response is, because I think it'd be a question I have.
Yeah.
I'm part of that, that group in the middle who's been trying to get ahead or trying to create wealth in a certain way. And I've been somebody who starts businesses, so I'm familiar with that. And that's always been something that's been important to me. But what I hear with the idea of ownership and essentially creating a group of owners, not a group of workers. So then the people that are necessarily like a coffee shop, even a small one, is going to have 7 to 10 employees, right? If I'm an owner, I could realistically run this operation fairly seamlessly myself, maybe 1 or 2 other people. But that leaves a group of people unaccounted for who, in theory, would be the customers of a fast casual business. So what do we do? How do those people then afford to come out and be consumers, right? Like when this McDonald's went through this argument a few years ago when they started introducing fully automated or mostly automated shops down in South Florida. All of a sudden, there was quite a few McDonald's employees that weren't being hired, but now those employees were having to go on unemployment, or they weren't able to find other jobs because their skill sets only met with kind of a McDonald's model. So if we create, and this is a bigger question, not specific to Ping, I'm not saying Ping is doing this. If we create an entire generation or an entire middle whose goal is to become owners, how do they support each other? At some point the balance is going to be off. Do you have thoughts on kind of that theoretically?
Yes, many. So yeah, I mean, we don't have to get into like workforce training, things like that, skilling up. There's lots of other much smarter people than I am who can speak more to that than I. But I do know that, I do believe that with the advent of AI and robotics and stuff, that that people do have to skill up eventually. Like we need to be, so like I think that we're also going to be creating opportunities for people to be technicians. Like, right, every single pod needs to be maintained, like robotics break, things like that. We need people who understand how to fix things, and who love doing it. So that's definitely something that I don't think we have today. Like in retail, we don't really have a group of people who travel around and fix things, right? So I think it's like when I went to business school, there wasn't even like social media. Like people weren't influencers. Like social media wasn't taken very seriously as like a business area of study. But now you see that there's like everybody wants to be an influencer. There is like an ecosystem around it. So I just think that things will evolve to the point where new parts of like the workforce open up, like new skills are needed, And I think that robotics will open up more jobs to people who are just good at fixing things.
Yeah, we can create careers, not more entry level labor jobs that may be sticky and may not, right? So I think that's a huge piece of it. But also, like, we're initially addressing just the line bulk, like the people that didn't get served by the Starbucks out there because they saw the long line and they just chose not to get something, right? So I think there's also a lot of opportunity to be able to serve just the customers that couldn't get into or didn't have time to wait in that original drive-through line. So serving more people is not necessarily taking away from the overall job pool, but still adding to it and just creating a better overall experience. But yeah, no, it's always going to be a trade-off of like, oh, are you taking away jobs with automation? In my mind, I think we're creating a lot more opportunity for things that can be sticky and that can be either a career or something that still brings wealth to middle class Americans. Because like, in the same token, when you're talking about those entry level jobs that you have at like a Dunkin's or a Starbucks, where's the profit going that you go and you spend your money at a Starbucks or a Dunkin's. Most of that, the profit for that is not staying local, right? Most of that is going to a higher corporate. It's going at forward as a royalty. It's going forward as a something, the profit share for a PE, like, Dunkin's is owned by Inspire Brands. It's mostly owned by, private equity. Like, so when you start to think in terms of like, okay, well, where's my money really going? It's easy to get kind of myopic on the entry level jobs that you have locally, but he also has to start thinking about like, where does the profit from this venture actually go to? And so, having that local ownership, having more people that are, again, like us, a little bit of money and a lot of motivation, to keep that money within that pool, I think is super important.
I'm curious as to what your first jobs were.
Ever?
First
Like,
jobs.
Your first
Oh,
jobs
yeah.
ever. Like,
yeah.
I had my first job working for my parents, but then like my first job outside of the home was at Wendy's. Like, I was the robot at that time, not a robot. So I'm
Yeah.
curious as to what your first jobs were.
Well, I want to hear more about that and if you enjoyed it. But I worked at Jamba Juice, and I closed a lot because I was still going to school in high school. So it was like working till like midnight, scrubbing the floors, things like that. And I didn't mind that at all. And then I worked in retail at Macy's, the Limited. I don't think they're around anymore. But yeah, those were my first jobs in high school.
How about you,
Yeah.
Rob?
Mine was a little different. I grew up in Loudon, New Hampshire, so my very first job was working for an old farmer named Old Man Sanborn, and taking cordwood and putting it onto this crazy tractor rig that he had with a giant saw on it, and you cut it down into firewood size, and I had a little conveyor belt to drop it into the truck. But when the conveyor belt was broken, I would load on one side and then run around and throw the pieces into the truck on the other side for $3 an hour. But he always round down. So if I worked like 4 hours, he'd be like, "Here's $10." Like it was it was interesting. But then apple orchard, that sort of thing. So I worked on an apple orchard for a bit, and then I think the first sort of thing you'd recognize would be I worked at a Ramada Inn as a bellboy. So that
Oh,
was my
we're
first like.
fellow Ramada employees then.
Oh yeah,
I also
nice.
spent time at the Ramada. It's a small
Oh,
group of
yeah.
very traumatized employees.
Yeah, strange but proud. I don't know. Yeah.
So then, is this a coffee company, a coffee business? Is it a robotics business? In the future, it's a franchising business. What is, how would you describe this if somebody asks? Because when I when we talked about when I was chatting with Jessica about you guys coming on the show, that was the question I had. I don't know if I'm talking to coffee people. It can be both. I think multiple things can be true in the same way that generating new work opportunities for or new ownership opportunities is valuable as is entry level jobs like we're just talking about and the skills you learn there. What is this company to you?
Yeah.
I always think of us as a customer experience company, like first and foremost. And so, yes, we're using technology to create that experience, but that's our vision. That's how we see ourselves. And so, yeah, there's a lot of tech behind it in order to create what we want. And I think we set our goals super high and lofty to like get people in and out and under a minute. Like zero wait was our initial goal, and now we're like, right, maybe 30 seconds, maybe under a minute. Like and we try to reach for the stars there, but so we use tech to get there, and coffee was a great place for us to start because we knew that people would be used to that sort of format where you order on the app. You're going to want your particular things, that your customizations, and that is something that we knew we could automate, and that's how we started with the coffee. But we don't see ourselves as ending with just coffee, right?
Yeah.
Uh, a little bit, so both, but really that customer experience, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're like coffee people in that I can't tell you if a coffee is like floral or I can kind of like, taste it and tell. Um, and I don't understand the origins of coffee, stuff like that. I do know what good coffee tastes like. And I think that what I care about is that like other people also like the coffee. Cause yeah, at the heart of it, it's always about the customer. So yeah, I think we're much more of like a customer platform than anything else.
I asked about the money earlier, and you mentioned that you You self-funded the pilot, and now you haven't been taking salaries. Uh, how do you envision getting funding in the future? I know that you're on WeFunder, but what is kind of what's the next step here? Because I imagine as we talk about things, oh, I got a helicopter. Excuse me.
Nice.
Things I'm learning, when you move.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you envision as being the next step for that part of this? Is there a ceiling where you're going to hit it if you don't kind of continue growing in that growth period as a startup? How can people support it? Who is the supporter, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, we're still active on the WeFunder, and the WeFunder has been great because what we did was we built the pilot that gave us enough traction to do our pre-seed. We raised about 350 cash, and then we did some equity deals that got us up to about 650 total of investment for our pre-seed, and that's how we built our current automated pod. And the 500 that we've raised between the angels and WeFunder so far are really allowing us to get further along in our development. Because we landed on the site like we wanted to, but we had things that we needed to fix to improve the customer experience. We're not quite fully autonomous yet, and so we're working on a couple of redesigns to get fully autonomous by July. Still using the site host, but at least the pod itself will run without having a person sitting right next to the robot, staring at it and making sure every drink is made perfectly, right? So that's our next big step. After that, that's when we're going to raise our seed round, and so that will be more institutional, bigger investors. We're looking for a lead right now to lead that round. It'll probably be between 3 and 5 million total in order for us to take everything that we learned so far building this first pod and then apply the lessons learned to a big design update, right? So now it'll be more manufacturable. We'll give ourselves a little more room for accessibility. There's just a bunch of things that we're going to apply there. And then we're going to build 3 more of those, deploy them in this area, really get our hub and spoke model super ironed out so that we know we can support them. And then in 2028, we go into a franchise.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we did the WeFunder because we had a lot of customers who wanted to invest, but they're not accredited. So that was nice.
Yeah.
Like it was really nice to see that our customers also believed in us. But yeah, I mean, I think that there are clearly gaps. Like we're not franchise people, and we have great commercial real estate advisors to like kind of help fill in those gaps. We're always looking for smart investors, like people or just like smart advisors, people who understand things we don't. Like these are established things. Like franchising is not like new territory. So we
Right.
will figure it out. It's just like we're always searching for people who are smart and can pass on that knowledge to us. So yeah.
What makes this a success for the two of you, considering the risk you took? And, obviously financial success is one thing, but, how do you determine that? And when do you say to yourself, wow, we did this thing no matter what happens?
Well, I personally think that I am living the best life I've ever lived every single day. So I think that I've already gotten there. Because I think it was more about like, could I do this a little bit? Like from a success point of view, if you want to look at it personally, like I just, had confidence, but I think that we are stretching our abilities every day. I love that. We're learning every single day. I love that. Like, and if I make a mistake, I made it. It wasn't because, somebody else told me to do something and I made that mistake. Anyway. So yeah, I think that personally I feel like I'm really proud of what we built so far. And we've been like adhering to that vision. So yeah, I think pretty happy.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm super excited about what we've done, but also I really look forward to having our first franchisee site operational. Like for me, I mean, we're going to get our sites going, but like this whole vision of like being able to, scale this and make it affordable for, a lot of my friends have signed up to be franchisees in the future. And the WeFunder, with the crowdfunding, Jane's exactly right. Like it felt wrong at first when our customers are like, "Hey man, I want to invest." It's like, "Oh, you're not an accredited investor. Like that won't work right now." Like, being able to kind of realize all of that, and being able to have our friends franchise this, and be excited about how well this is working, and how many customers they're serving, and that I think that for me is going to be like kind of the, oh yeah, we've done something, like we've done something like that will be remembered. It's um, yeah, I think that's the most exciting thing for me.
One of the things we try to do on this show, besides just tell stories and hear about successes and failures, is learn things or figure out how people get through things. Our sponsor, Roastars, really encouraged us to do this to help other of their customers as well. I'm wondering if there's a piece of advice or wisdom about entrepreneurship or about taking risks or just about life in general that either of you would be, willing to share with people that you think have helped you or just stuck with you.
I think the other day, I was talking with another founder, and we were joking about how for a while it was kind of like trendy to be, say, oh, I'm in founder mode right now or something like that. And we used to laugh about it. But once you get there, like once you get to the point where you're so committed to something and this is all you really think about or do, like we don't need a ton of money because we're not that interesting right now. Like we do our business. That is it. Like we don't travel right now. We don't, but this is what we do day in and day out. Right. And so like once you get into that mode, I think you realize like you can't just like sort of do something. You can't like half put yourself into, oh, I'm trying something new, I'm thinking about it, like I'm going to dip my toe in the water. If you're doing that, you're not really like committing yourself. Like in my mind, like I don't think you're really achieving what you could be achieving as a founder if you're not really fully committed, right? And I think there's just a point, like a tipping point, where you get so into it that you're like, oh yeah, I think I am in founder mode. Like, and I think you should try to do that, right? Like as soon as possible, because investors will sense it when you talk that it's way different pitching an idea that you have, or a bunch of ideas that you might kind of weed down to, one bigger idea, as opposed to like, this is what we're doing. You can climb on or not, but we're going to do this regardless. Like we'll figure it out. Like this is an amazing idea. It will be funded. You can climb on, but like honestly, I'm wasting time with you if you're just like kind of wishy-washy about it, right? So I think getting to that kind of, and it sounds silly, but like that founder mode is pretty important, and I think that's when you really find your groove. And it's like Jane was saying before, like we're performing better than we ever performed in our lives. I think because you're just in that mode, you're completely into it.
I have two thoughts, which is that we didn't realize getting into this that a consumer hardware company would be so hard to raise money for. Like if you're going to go and get VC money, which it honestly, like we've been told a million times since that when we started this, that you don't need VC money. It's like actually worse because then someone else is now like kind of your boss a little bit, but not really. That But like we weren't excited about SaaS or anything like that, so we just did the thing that we wanted to do. But like just realize things are really some categories are really hard to raise money for. The other thing is like we talk all the time to friends who have wonderful jobs and they're like complaining about it and they hate their lives. And I recognize myself in these people, and I understand because they have golden handcuffs. Like they earn a lot of money, they have kids they have to take care of. Like I understand. But every day, like I can see that they're not being, I think, like at their potential. So I think that especially now with so many people jobs being cut, like whether it's white collar, blue collar, whatever, like, and now that AI is a curse and a blessing. AI has helped us speed the development of our company along in ways that like you can like not just from a software perspective. If I have problems understanding how to set up my HR software, I just like ask Gemini or whatever, and it instead of like having to go find a Q&A, it just cuts the amount of time it takes to do things and learn things. So I think that if anyone were to think about getting into business for themselves, this is a wonderful time to do it and to like master those tools, because development now is just sped up to a certain degree. And I think wealth creation now is really hard to do in jobs necessarily. Like you have to work your way up a ladder, and if you're good at that, great. But like I think that working for yourself, and you could probably speak to this, has merits um, above and beyond monetary. And then I also think that it could have great potential upside. Anyway, so that's what I would encourage is I think that so many people could be founders and very successful entrepreneurs, but today don't even consider it. And I get it. It's like a risk aversion profile, but that potential is in everyone.
I mean, I think that to since you asked me, like I think starting up anything has its own intrinsic rewards. I
Mm.
think there has to be a willingness between uh between you have to come to an agreement with yourself that you'll live with the results.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't end up where you expect. Now, the other side of that is the two of you are partners in business and in life. So you've both agreed upon this. But if you're a founder who has a spouse or a family that hasn't quite, they're not on board, it's a different sort of stressor.
Mm.
You have to understand that the risks you're taking affect more than just you. And so that kind
Mm.
of leads me to one of my next to last questions, which is this all kind of started because you're in the drive-through line. Uh, in part because your kids who you mentioned were asking you to go. How do they feel about what mom and dad are doing?
Yeah, I mean, they're interested. My oldest daughter is in, she's works for Bank of America now, so she got her degree in economics, and so she actually did our discounted cash flow analysis. So that was really nice. My middle daughter, she designed a couple of our drinks. So one of our drinks is called the Galaxy Gulp because her name is Alex, and so that's like her custom designed drink. And my youngest daughter is graduating high school today, so she's given us her support in her own way. But yeah, I think they're excited for us. They're happy, but I tried to make them engineers. I failed miserably, so they don't have that much interest in the robotics side. But they definitely think it's cool that we're doing our own brand, doing our own thing, and yeah, my oldest daughter just doesn't want to, have any nepotism if we're super successful. So she doesn't want
Oh,
to lead the
I,
way. She wants to make her own way.
uh, if you guys were to go out into the world and you were to find a coffee shop or a future Ping franchisee, what is it that you guys are going to order?
Oh, what we would order
I just
Yeah.
finished
to?
black coffee or espresso.
Oh yeah, I like the lattes. I'm a latte fan.
That's actually a question. Espresso, while it is easy to automate, it's hard to serve. I feel like. How have you managed? Are you serving because everything is to go at your
Mm.
locations, correct?
Yep.
So you serve. I mean, how does that work? I hadn't really thought about some of those more specialty concepts. If somebody pulls up and just like, I just want a shot of espresso, is it like a shot glass, or how do you guys figure that out?
Yeah, because it's robotics, we cannot offer. So we'll have like one cup size, for instance, and we only do ice drinks for now because that's the volume of like most shops, I think. Um, so it's like more streamlined and there's less choice, but I think we try to pick the most curated menu we can. But yeah, we can't do one shot of espresso today, but maybe in the future. You can add shots of things. You can add another shot, or you can, like people have requested being able to really dial in their energy shot level for
Mm.
like their energy drinks and stuff. We
Or
can do
tie it
that.
into your health app so you can see how much caffeine allocation you have left in the day, and then just like you only add that. So there's a ton of cool things you can do once you get that level of control.
Yeah, so there's customization. It's just like different from our like another
Sure.
coffee shop.
I don't understand what you mean by allocation of caffeine there, Rob. It's just as
Oh, I'm
much as
sorry.
that.
Some
It's
people don't drink caffeine until they pass out.
it's
That's
not
that's
just
the
as much
thing.
as you can
Yeah,
fit into the
yeah,
system before you
yeah,
break down.
yeah.
What did I miss today? What comes next? Is there something I should have asked that I didn't? Anything that you can think of?
Just one other thing, you're asking about like advice that we'd give other people. I think the other big thing for us is to start operating as soon as possible and start engaging with your customers as soon as possible. We talked about it a little bit, but that's how you learn really, really fast, I think, and make sure you take whatever vision you had and try it out, figure out if you're going down the right path, and figure out where you need to deviate a little bit. And again, just like getting direct customer feedback it brings everything into focus, like all of your priorities, where your weak points are. For us, it was engineering, but also it's an operations thing, right? So there's just a ton of stuff to figure out, and the sooner you can get in front of customers with things, the faster you'll get all those little bits figured out.
I think there was like a early mid 2000s, the MVP concept. I think Eric Ries was the author of that book. Move fast and break things. Put out your product, let people tell you what's wrong with it, and fix
Yeah.
it. I kind of get the impression, and maybe you can speak to this being more into it, just as we're leaving here, that maybe COVID slowed some of that down. And I think people and founders and people that are inventing things kind of turned inward a little bit and became a little more isolated and sharing things online more, but maybe not in function in the real world as much. Maybe that's my imagination, but I wonder if that move fast and break things is starting to get a bit of a bad reputation, just because we've seen that some of the successes of that have gotten so big we don't know what to do anymore.
It might be COVID. I think there's a lot of factors. I think, at least from hardware, consumer facing hardware type perspective, I think a lot of it also had to do with investors being obsessed with, how quickly you can make money off of B2B SaaS AI stuff, right? Like that was the only thing, when we first started raising, that people are like, wait, how could you turn this into a B2B business to business sort of business and just do the software part of it? Like, I was like, oh, okay, well, no, we can't do that. That's not our concept at all. And so I think, the investment strategies over the last few years have, really, kind of driven that as well. And kind of COVID is like a multiplier of that, I think, where people tend to, pull in a little bit. But I think some of that bubble is popping a little bit. I think people are starting to realize there's only so many apps you can have on your phone before, like, maybe you need some other, hard tech out there to actually do something with all these cool answers you can get from, AI generation and large language models. Like there's only so much you can do on a screen. And I think people are starting to realize that the transition from, bits to atoms is like kind of here. So we're kind of lucky with our timing in terms of the seed round that we're coming up with, that now that is starting to come to light and people are looking for other things to invest in. And I'm hoping that is maybe a little bit of a change from like that inward facing, software only type businesses that you were talking about to more, okay, like, we're the flying cars. Let's get to work on that. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff we can do in this world.
As long as I can still play Pac-Man on a screen, I think I'll be fine. Jane, Rob, thank you so much for joining the show. I appreciate you guys being here. And, I think when I don't understand everything, because some of the things you are doing are above my pay grade, I appreciate that you've done an incredible job here of breaking it down. And I think that'll be really helpful for people listening who are, in maybe not in a similar place, but are like, I have an idea, what's the next thing, or who can I be inspired by? So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, it's great talking to you.